What's going on, everybody? Zach Walker here with Bearded Branding and Marketing, Cotton Row Companies in the studio here in Athens on Lindsay Lane. We are doing our best to social distance, and we are just trying to keep you connected with everything else that's going on out there. I say that facetiously. But today I have a great guest with me. I've learned Hannah-Ruth, not just Hannah, not just Ruth, Hannah-Ruth Lashley. She is the Community Impact Director at Way FM, which is like a dream job. The radio, my mom always told me I had a face for radio. And so I thought that was maybe my career path and didn't work out, unfortunately, but I'm kidding. No, we're super excited. So Hannah-Ruth, we didn't know this, or I didn't recognize. We've actually led worship together with the sunrise service. Brother Eric Pugh called me and was like, "Hey man, there's this girl that can sing the stars down if you guys need a female voice." And I was like, "Man, that sounds great. You mean I don't have to sing?" And so we know each other. And you reached out on Facebook. She's been watching the stream, the Corona Cast, as it were, and that's what we're calling it, by the way, Corona Cast. And so basically reached out and said, "Man, what you're doing is awesome." And I was like, "You want to be on the show?" And she's like, "Are you serious?" And I was like, "Yeah, this was Friday." She said, "When?" I said, "Monday." She said, "Okay." And here we are. And so, as we were talking, she said, "So what do I need to prepare for?" And I'm like, "Prepare? What does that mean?" But no, so this is a stream of consciousness in a lot of ways. I mean, we try to be educational. We try to be informative. We're certainly going to be gospel-centered and minded. But at the end of the day, this whole thing has been about this is unprecedented times. Mm-hmm. You're younger than I am. I mean, I very vividly remember 9/11, and I keep calling this a ground zero. It's not the same as the act of terrorism. It's not, but it is a ground zero, in that we are right in the middle of this pandemic, this global pandemic that is changing the way our very lives are done on a daily basis. And so, one of the things that we had talked about was like, you are in the one, like, medium of advertising, of connecting, of whatever it is that is necessary during times like this to keep people connected. And so within that, the question I have and kind of where we want to take the show today is really like, what has radio done? What have you seen being done? I mean, everything's changed. Certainly the way you've done business has changed. I would be interested to, probably not a question for this discussion, but like is advertising dropping because money is now changing and the economy's changing. And so, there are certainly those impacts, but as far as it impacts your day-to-day life and your job, what have you seen, and not just Way FM, but certainly that's where you work. And so, what are the ways that you guys have kind of shifted to address this and how has it changed? How's it changed the way you guys do business?
At first, we do a lot of promotions outside of the office and Free Lunch Friday, Business Breakfast, Krispy Kreme to the rescue. And when all this happened, I was actually delivering Krispy Kreme donuts and nobody would take them. And I was like, oh no, what are we going to do?
You could bring them here, just for the record.
Well, we had 5 dozen Krispy Kreme donuts sitting in our office, and we were giving them out to other people. But I was like, what are we going to do? Because this is my job, Right. And we had to think creatively. Instead of going out and giving food, we had to, partner with House of the Harvest and, other places like the North Alabama Food Bank, getting promotions out that way. This past Thursday, we had Day of Hope, where we had a nurse that told us, what to pray for them right now. And so, God has really opened doors in different ways. Instead of us going out, we're actually having a better social media presence.
And that's something that I've talked about. Anybody that's been watching this stream, and again, this is kind of new for us. We're like day 8 or 9 of talking this way, but anyone that's watched this at all knows that we've approached this from how is this affecting local business, small business? How is this forcing us to pivot, to grow, to churches? We talked about that. John Evans, executive pastor at Life Point Church, was on, and we talked about the impacts on the church and the way. But the unique thing for me is that this is not new. Social media is not new. It's not something that people shouldn't know about. It's not something that should have snuck up on us. Like, I built a business on social media that I was able to build and sell in a matter of 48 months using nothing but social media. And I'm an idiot. And so it's like there's people that are so much smarter than me. Like, you would think that so I guess, I'm not one of those like, what's the word? Silver lining guys, because I don't necessarily like, biblically it's hard to believe in a silver lining. It's more about like God's plan, God's will, our obedience. That's all that matters. Right. But at the end of the day, like, one of the quote silver linings I think is going to be businesses learning to pivot to something that's been available for 10 years. And maybe geographically where we're located, it's a hard thing because it's not, let's be honest, we're not the most ahead of the curve people on the face of the planet. I mean, I'm not saying anything you don't know, I don't think. But the reality is, like, it's forced people to do that. So specifically, like, how is the radio station being used to communicate messaging maybe that they weren't before? Are they being, I guess my interest in it would be like, if I watch Alaska, The Last Frontier all the time. My son, he loves the show, right? Mm-hmm. And they talk about these winter cabins where the radio station every day puts out the mail. Like if you have a message that, and obviously I know you're not taking personal messages at Way FM and transmitting them over the radio, but are there any organizations or groups that have come and said, hey, we really got to get this message out and use, like, you guys are willing to be used in a way that is maybe different than you normally would. Mm-hmm. And so kind of talk me through that portion of it. And it may not be your area of expertise, and that's okay.
Yeah. Well, we have business impact partners that we do get their messages out, but we also help with like PSAs for nonprofit or for organizations, Downtown Rescue Mission is one, Grace Klein Community in Birmingham. We have 3 different markets that, we air, and it's Birmingham, Gadsden, and Huntsville. So, Bundles of Hope Diaper Bank. We use a lot of, people out there. Basically anybody that is a nonprofit can come and email us and say, hey, we have certain things going on. Can you help us get the word out? I was on the way here. Katie Bentley from Chick-fil-A in Madison actually was like, well, hey, we have something that we're putting together. Can you help me get that out? I said, just shoot it to me. We can put it out.
Sure.
And so, if that
and guys,
helps.
look, if you have questions, comments, if you want to ask anything about Way FM, the radio, it doesn't have to be Corona related. I mean, we want to talk about that because it's what we're facing, but the reality is we'll probably turn right pretty hard at some point and go somewhere completely different. And so if you want to be the catalyst for that, I would certainly encourage and ask you to do that. But no, the radio has always been interesting to me because we actually did some advertising on the radio. It's something that we did relatively recently. We saw an increase in activity from that. It was something we would have considered to be solid advertising. But being a Christian station is something that I always hear them when I'm listening to the radio station, which, I mean, full disclosure, I don't do a ton of radio listening. I'm a podcast live stream guy. Like I know what I like, and I go and I find that, and I consume it as I want to on demand. And so I'm not a huge radio guy. But when I have listened to AFM, they're always talking about it operates as a ministry on donations. And I find that to be really cool. I mean, obviously, your business impact partners pay for advertising just because that's a service that you provide. And as a ministry, there's certainly nothing wrong with. Paul would absolutely say that he would keep sowing net so that he wasn't a burden on the church. And so I find that really neat. And so I don't know the radio. I don't know Brent, by the way. Hello, Brent. She's awesome. She needs a raise. She told me to say that. I don't know, like, the inner workings of that, but if you could kind of talk us through, like, what does that look like? How is it a ministry? Because it's very much a business. It's and that's okay. Again, I think that's how ministry is supposed to work, but kind of what's the heart of AFM on that? Because I find that to be really unique.
Yeah. So as far as funds and everything go, that's not my department. So I really don't know. I know a lot of the business impact partners that I've talked to, like Christina Bass with Free Lunch Friday that we do. She looks at that as a ministry. When we go into workplaces, the money that she gives to the station, it's like a tithe to her. Oh, yeah. And so, the time that she gives, it's a ministry. She's getting to tell people about what she does, but she's also getting to witness to people. Yeah. It's a really great opportunity that we have. And hopefully that answers some of that.
Look, I'm going to throw questions out because I'm curious. I find myself being very curious about things that I don't understand, and so the radio is something that is incredibly powerful, and it's something that that I'm seeing it being used right now in this time in a way that maybe it never has been before, which is cool. Carter Reese is joining us. Carter's a good buddy of mine up in Nashville. What's up, buddy? Hope you're well. But no, so the community impact director. What is your favorite part of what you do?
I love getting to talk to people, and I'm an introverted person.
Really?
So yes, I'm very introverted. I have to literally force myself to get out there. But before I took the job, that was something that God had called me to, and I had said, Lord, give me a platform that I can use for you. And he did. He's growing me. If you had told me that I was going to be able to, talk to people at concerts or all the movie night. I love movie night because, you have people that are there that you get to talk to that didn't even come to see your movie, that want to come see your Christian movie now. Sure. Because you're talking to them about Christ and you're talking to them about, I don't even know. I'm just a rambler, but it's really awesome to see that the decisions that you make can impact someone's life for the rest of their life.
Well, and that's what's cool about what WayFM does. And again, if I'm overstepping I mean, I don't understand it maybe as much as I should, but I do get business and I get the way that this stuff works. And so the reality is, we look at our business in a very similar way, right? We look at what we do as a ministry. It's something that we have the ability and platform that was given to us to use for good. And with that, there's absolutely nothing wrong with being in business and being, utilizing capitalism to our advantage. And so it's just very cool to see, Christian music has come so far. Like, it used to be really tough to listen to Christian. I mean, shout out to all the old school Christian artists. I apologize, but it was really tough to listen to Christian music for a really long time because it was either too much pop or it was too much hymn, and there was nothing in the middle. And now you've got guys like, Tomlin and the whole Passion movement and the Elevation and all these guys that have taken like real musicianship to a next level, guys that can make a living, girls that can make a living singing worldly songs about anything they want to sing it about. And now they're making a living being supported by Christians who want to consume their music and pay to do that. And so Christian radio is a very unique business. It's a very unique thing because you're supported by a lot of donations, and they're always doing the donation drives and donation matches and all that. And then there's a component of those that need prayer requests call in, and they have this. And I've heard great stories about people that feel that that's a great thing for them, and they've had prayers. And it's just really cool to see all that. But then also you got this business over here, and you've got to make it work. And so, it's interesting that I don't think anybody knew what was coming with this coronavirus. Obviously, that's an understatement of the year. But to see which business is able to, which ones were essential. I know the government tells us what's essential and what's not essential, but the market tells you what's essential and not essential, right? If in the last 2 weeks you stayed open, it's because what you're doing is essential, and the radio station is certainly very essential. And so what you do, maybe it sounds like you completely understand it, but it's a huge platform that you have, and the ability to reach as many people as you can reach. So it's just really cool to have different walks. I mean, we've been really fortunate to be able to interview some very interesting people in the last week that all kind of come from. We have a pastor, we got a Christian radio industry, we've got fill in the blank. We had the Tom Rigsby, who is a small business coach, and talking through all that. And so I'm curious, do you guys have any resources for families that are struggling to eat during this time? Where would they find that?
So they go to wayfm.com, and there's a COVID-19, I think it says a mid-COVID-19. It's a resource page. It talks about,
so Connor will go find that and pull that up for us while we're talking.
It's on our in all three markets. It's in Huntsville, it's in Northeast Alabama, it's in Birmingham, and basically it just goes down the list. It's not only for kids and families, but it's also for senior adults as well.
That's awesome.
So
and that's something that we really wanted to harp on when we started this thing. We said our goal. There's so much negativity right now. There's so much negativity. This is going to be the end of the world. There's going to be 250,000 people that all die. Yada yada yada. Fill in the blank. True, not true. Fear mongering, whatever. Irrelevant. The reality is there's so much negativity. Like we got to be willing to be the positivity. So when we set out to do this, we set out to provide resources for people. And when Connor gets that pulled up, he'll show it to us. But guys, if you need resources, like the church, this is not the government's job. This is the church's job.
Right.
And that's what's so cool about this is when I called it a ground zero again, and I'm not going to put you on the spot and ask you how old you are, but it's
okay. I'm 24.
Okay, so in 2001, Tyke, right?
Yes.
And so when those towers came crashing down, we watched the world rally around itself, and Sammy Sosa grabbed this flag and hits a home run, runs around. I mean, everybody was all in on America, and we're seeing a very similar response to this. And so if you're out there struggling for food, for help, for whatever, like you can't get a bill paid, reach out directly to us, reach out directly to WayFM. Like there are people out there with access to things that are needed that can give them to you. In fact, I was on the way back out of a meeting today. On my way back home, I passed a church that had a big sign, free spaghetti plates. And they had these free spaghetti plates out here they were giving out to people. So it's out there, and resources are there for you. And church, this is your time to step up. Like, I know it's tough on you too, and this is something that John and I have talked about coming back for episode 2 and discussing, but like, how is this impacting the church? Because people only give when they feel like they've got a lot to give, which is the incorrect approach to giving. But that's neither here nor there. The reality is this is impacting everyone, and organizations like yours are stepping in to fill the gap for people. And I just find that really, really neat. So, I mean, speak to the heart of WFM. I mean, you know the people. I don't know anybody there but you, and I've listened to the radio station, my handful of times. But speak to the heart of that. It feels very genuine. When you listen to it, when you talk to people about it, it feels like a very genuine station, which is not completely all the time the case. So you've been there for how long?
I've been there since August.
Yeah. So in your short time there, like the heart of the station feels like ministry. And is that how it really is behind the curtain, right? I mean, if we go behind the curtain, is it what it appears to be? Because it's really cool.
It really is. We're a family. We have each other's backs. And even more so now, we are coming together. I mean, not just the Huntsville station, but all the stations are coming together as one.
So let's jump on that real fast, not to interrupt. You said 3 markets. You said it a couple times, and I've not stopped you. What are the 3 markets, just so we can clarify?
Yeah, so the 3 markets would be Birmingham, Gadsden, and Huntsville for the WFM Alabama. We're operations center here.
Okay.
Yes.
So Birmingham, Gadsden, and sorry, Huntsville, you said?
And Huntsville.
Okay. So that's good to know, because if you're in those areas right now, you could WFM can be a resource for you. Is there, like, if I have a question, can I pick up and call the radio? Like, can I call the station? Will someone answer?
There's someone there that can answer the phone.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So again, guys, use that as a resource. And when we talked the other day, we had no idea what we were going to talk about. And that's what I love about this is we can come on and just talk and just have a conversation. That's where people don't get it. They, where's the script? What are we going to talk about? And so answer me this. Now that I know how old you are, I'm really curious. What, prior to this, what is the most disruptive of your life event that is national or whatever that you can remember? Is there anything you can point to that you say, man, this COVID-19 thing's crazy, but that was pretty crazy too?
Honestly, the only thing I somewhat remember would be 9/11. It's sad to say that, but that's...
No, it's not sad to say that. It's beautiful to say that. It's you should be thankful.
That I remember, at least.
Well, not only that, but that you've not had to live through this type of stuff. Like, we grew up with, I lived in Virginia for the end of my high school, or I guess from 8 to 18, so most of my life. And we had Saddam, we had this blizzard of 96, 4 feet of snow. We had Saddam Hussein, we had the Beltway sniper, and then we had 9/11. And so we grew up, like, constantly there were things that it felt like were impacting and so I think that's something that we as a country need to take that in, and this is something that we need to utilize this as a resource, guys. Like, we're being asked to stay home and spend time with our families.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason this is all happening. And again, we talked about this the other day, John and I did. Don't let me say, like, this came out, this was a plague, that's not the case. But certainly, while we have the opportunity, like, tune into a good radio station, spend some time with your family. Like, I love the uplifting nature of WFM, and just, again, it's good music that is it's good for you. Trash in, trash out, right? Like Tiger King in, Tiger King out. I'm just saying. And if those of you that watch that know exactly what I'm talking about, don't watch it. It's terrible. You can't stop, and it's not good. But it's one of those things where, I don't know. It's a beautiful thing. So tell me, what is now that you can't do in-person events, what are you now doing as a community impact director to make an impact for the community directly?
Yeah. Well, I actually created some coloring pages for some kids, and so they can they can download the pages, they can color them, they can tag WFM. You've got that. We've got the COVID-19 resources on our Facebook page. We also have live stream for churches. We had people say, hey, this is our church and we want you to watch it. So,
wow.
So it's really cool because, those who may not have a church, like,
that's really neat.
They can go and
so you're providing, basically you're saying, if you're a church out there and you have a live stream, send it to us, we'll retweet it, reshare it, whatever, and make it available so people, and that's what's really cool. One of the things we talked about the other day was, like, the ability for people now to, and this sounds terrible, and I don't mean it this way, but church shop, right? I mean, if you were in the market for a church and you were, like, low-key, didn't want to tell anybody in your Sunday school class, like, you were thinking about it, now's the time, right? Because you could go and live stream and see anything that's out there. And those churches that are now live streaming that weren't, they're putting their theology on the table for everyone to look at, which is unbelievable. And quite frankly, I think a lot of the reason why some churches have not jumped to this right out of the gate, because it's scary to know. Like when I first jumped on here and started running my mouth, it was terrifying because it's like, what if? Yeah. Wow, and it happened. Like you put yourself out there, you say something stupid, you know, bite your tongue, and I'm talking about 3 seconds later, you're being blasted for it. Like, and we've got like 3 people watching, right? So no, I'm kidding, but at the end of the day, it's a really neat thing. That's really cool. So, is there? What was postponed for this? What did you guys lose?
Well, I don't look at it as being lost. I look at it as a blessing in disguise.
Sure.
Mainly because, you know, this was something that the Lord already saw before we did. And so a lot of stuff, like we had Lauren Daigle in Birmingham, it was canceled because, you know, they're doing some building work and all that kind of stuff. So we did have to cancel that. That is very upsetting. We had a lot of walks that were having to postpone, concerts are having to be postponed, but at the same time we're excited for when they are going to happen. September 10th we are having Brant and Cherry in at Willowbrook, hopefully in Huntsville, so we're really excited about that. And just during this time, I guess for me at least, I'm very thankful for it because it gives you time to reevaluate yourself. It gives you time to look and say, okay, these are the things that are really important. Mm-hmm. And you get to look over your work and kind of look at it and say, okay, this may not have worked, but this can. And it's an opportunity to just, instead of, sometimes we have this great idea for ourselves and our company and everything, but we get to take a step back and say, okay, but what does God want right now? How can we best impact the people in our communities right now for him? Because I really think there's a lot of fear out there right now. When, you know, one, God has not given us that spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind. So it's a great opportunity for us to be able to, you know, witness to people, to get out there. I didn't know she
was going to preach today. Come on,
you
girl,
didn't
preach.
ask for it, but guess what I did?
I love
and
it.
So it's really awesome because we get to impact people. I keep saying impact, but it really is awesome because we get to put scripture up on our pages, you know, wherever we go, you know, whether it's Walmart. My husband's here today. Sorry, guys. So when I say we, I'm talking about my husband over there. But wherever we go, we get to impact people. You know, and that is just awesome. Not even just with my job, but just with life in general. We get to love on people and show them Christ.
Awesome. And that's exactly what, and that's how we should all feel. And the spirit of fear that you talked about is what I'm watching grip a large portion of our nation. Yeah. And guys, there is a division between a spirit of fear and responsibility. And people, I've gotten a bunch of flack in the last couple of days for my views on this coronavirus pandemic. And I want to just reiterate, like, irresponsibility is not the answer. It's not at all the answer. It's not what I'm advocating for. It's not what I'm hoping for. I love life, right? And I've taken the economic approach and said, okay, we've declared war. We've invoked the Defense Spending Act. We've done a lot of wartime things. In war, people die. And unfortunately, like, the virus is going to kill people. It's going to happen. And so now we're risking losing our economy and people when we were going to lose people anyways. And so, and that's a very delicate balance, but the spirit of fear is not the one to operate in, because at the end of the day, what will be, yeah. and that's not karma. That's God. And so it's one of those things where we have to, I think it's been a reset. I think it's been an opportunity for all of us to stop and just say, you know what, let's look at my life. Let's look at what's happening. Let's look at why it's happening. And you know, a lot of people just don't look back at this time when it's all over with and see that you wasted it. Like, this is an opportunity for something. I get it. There are stressors. There's no job. There's no money. There's allegedly a stimulus coming, whether it does or doesn't, or who it affects or who it doesn't affect, or whether they'll tax it and take it back. I mean, there's 100 different things that scare me about the government printing new money and sending it out to people to try and tide them over. But that's a conversation for another day. The way we should operate right now is in love, understanding, responsibility, and respect. Like, I come to work every day. My doors are closed to the public. It's the same 4 people. We come in, we clean ourselves with, I mean, look, I mean, everywhere you go, there's hand sanitizer. That's all over the place. There's a responsibility to it. I'm not at Lowe's. I'm not at Walmart. I'm not running around hacking on people. And I don't want to be hacked on. But I can continue to do my job responsibly. And there's a lot of people that fall into that category with essential businesses. Unfortunately, in Alabama, we never mind. I'm not gonna. That's not where I want to go with this. I was going to go somewhere I didn't want to go, and I'm not going to put you in that spot. I'm not going to say it. At the end of the day, there's some businesses that were deemed essential by the state government that I would vehemently disagree with on moral grounds, on biblical grounds. And so we can't operate under this. Certainly obey the laws. Mm-hmm. Certainly obey the laws. Be obedient to government and leadership. But at the same time, as far as your household, like, take stock of your family, your responsibility to protect them and those that you love and those that you will come in contact with. And if there's people that are at risk for this, like, absolutely treat everybody as if they have the virus and stay away. But in my life, there's not, like, my wife is in healthcare. And so she is, I mean, she's a therapist. She's not on the front line by any stretch. So I saw you, like, sliding away. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. She's not on the front lines, but she's certainly involved with people on a daily basis, and they have procedures in place. They take temperatures when they walk in. There's 100 things. And then everyone says, well, they could be sick without symptoms. I get all that. But fear and responsibility are two very different things. And when you were preaching a minute ago, that was, don't apologize. It was awesome. That's one of those things that hit me that just kind of, like, I don't know. It just struck a chord because I see so much fear, and it's sad because people that are scared don't know the Lord that I know, and that He wouldn't want that for me because He loves me, He protects me, and what He wants to happen to me will happen because it's already happened. Like, the ending's already been written. And that's something, if you haven't heard that today, like, I want you to hear that. The ending's already out there. I'll tell you what happens. Like, I got a Bible in here. Holler at me. I'll send it to you. You can read it. I'll tell you what happens, right? At the end of the day, we have to operate with a responsibility to our economy, to our people, to our citizens, and with respect for those who are at risk of this disease. And that is where we find ourselves in a very difficult position. And I think the president and all of the people in Washington have a very difficult choice and decisions to make coming up. I don't envy them. I don't want to be them. And certainly I don't want them to listen to my opinion because it's just my opinion. But as far as how it's impacting us, the radio station, my business, those that, within the context of this conversation today, there's going to be some irreparable damage that comes from much more of this. And so it's just it's a time that Way FM is very needed. It's a time that encouragement and uplifting is needed. And so I'm super thankful that we have a station like that. We got a few minutes left that we're going to let her get on. I'm going to give her the soapbox back and let her. No, I'm just kidding. But we have a couple minutes left, and that was awesome, by the way. It really was. Don't apologize for that ever. Being passionate is something that very few people have because it gets beat out of you in the world. The world will take it from you. It'll beat it out of you. It'll discourage you. It'll do all those things. And then what happens? Fear. Mm-hmm. Fear is the biggest tool used against us as people. It always has been. It always will be. And there's nothing we can do about that. And so at the end of the day, I want you to tell people how they can reach you, how they get in touch with you, how do they get in touch with AFM, website, stuff like that. But give the people what they want. They want to get in touch.
So you can check us out on Facebook, Way Alabama, concerts and events. If wherever you are, you can check that out. But you can also email me at hlashley, that's LASHLEY at wayfm.com.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah. Well, in
LASHLEY.
That's not really
like
my last name,
but without the eyelash, and then Lee at the end, like Ashley, but without Ash. Don't forget it.
Yes, don't forget. But anyway, so just please.
And what's the radio station for those of you that have never listened to AFM? Because there's somebody out there right now. So for those of you that have never listened, what's the radio station in the Huntsville market?
Oh, it's 88.1, 99.5.
Brent would be mad if we didn't mention that one.
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
What was it?
88.1, 99.5. Way
That's right.
FM.
Way FM. They don't know it yet, but they're going to have a new disc jockey before long. Is that still a thing? Is that what you call it? A disc jockey?
I don't know.
You don't even know what that is. Oh my goodness.
Sorry.
Brent got it, though. That's all that matters. All right, guys, look, we are I'm so thankful that you joined me, and the people are screaming we're going to have to do this again. Well, I do have a question. We've been talking about getting together and throwing together some podcast material, which obviously this will be out on the podcast. It's called Bearded Branding and Marketing. Beyond the Beard is the name of the podcast, Bearded Branding and Marketing, on iTunes, Spotify, you name it, you can find it. This episode will be up this afternoon. So if you want to just listen to it and not see me, I understand. That's a pretty common response. But if I just lost my train of thought. I lost my monitor right there, and it completely kicked me into overdrive. Podcast. What was I saying? Tell me what I was saying. Podcast. If
you want to watch it.
Listen. Anyways, guys. Oh no, I remember now. Here we go. All right, I'm back. I'm back.
I'm not inside your head.
No, if you have an idea, like you've heard how, you know me and you know how passionate I can get about topics, and I'm not afraid to take on anything because I feel like opinions are okay and you can have them as long as you're respectful. Obviously got a little fire in this one over here. So we've been talking about like what a podcast would look like, because two very different ages, two very different backgrounds. Like what would it look like to get and with what she does for a living and the community and all of that, like now's the time for you to increase your amount of content that you're putting out into the world, because people are consuming at an all-time high. So I'd like to hear from anybody out there, like you've listened to us for 30 minutes. What should we talk about? What should be a topic? What should be something that we could rant about for 30 minutes to an hour at a time? And we will give that a go and put that out to you. We might even let you watch it live the first time, because that would be real interesting. So anyways, as always, guys, if you need me, you know how to get me. 1-800, that's the other one. 256-BUY-SELL, 256-BUYSELL, or at Zach@cottonrow.com. Guys, we love you. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll be live again sometime around 3 o'clock. But for now, thanks for tuning in. Again, Hannah-Ruth, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys later. All right, Connor, take it away.